Okay, so let's unpack this. You flagged a company that's making some waves because it's right on the edge of a really big shift.
Right. Moving from just, exploring the ground to actually starting to build a mine.
And that's such a critical stage, isn't it? High risk, sure, but potentially very high reward in the mining cycle.
Oh, absolutely. That transition is incredibly complex, very capital intensive, and frankly, it's where many junior mining companies either, shine or stumble.
Getting through it successfully can unlock massive value.
Exactly.
So the company we're diving into today, based on the sources you shared, is US Gold Corp, ticker USAU.
Hmm.
And our mission here is to sort of cut through the noise, pull out the key insights you wanted, the team, their projects, the financials, and, what might be coming next.
And the big catalyst, the thing putting them front and center right now, is that they are fully permitted. They're moving towards construction at their CK Gold project.
In Wyoming. Yeah, that permitting hurdle,
Yeah.
that's a major one in this industry.
It absolutely is. But we need to look beyond just CK Gold, right? We'll check out their other assets, see what the financials are telling us, try to get that full picture the sources paint.
Yeah, does the data suggest this company is actually set up for success as it enters this new phase?
Let's find out.
Okay, let's jump in. First up, the team. Several sources, Crux Investor especially, really stress how vital experience management is for a junior company, particularly one trying to build something.
Absolutely. In this sector, the team isn't just about, fancy credentials. It's about having navigated these specific, tricky challenges before. Building a mine needs a totally different skill set than finding a deposit.
Right, you need people who get project finance, complex engineering, those permitting nightmares, and actual operations.
Exactly. And the materials you sent, they highlight some serious depth on the US Gold Corp team. Let's look at George B., the president and CEO. His background really stands out.
Yeah, it seems like he's got a lot of direct mine development and operations experience.
He certainly does. His resume, it's detailed in the sources, shows significant time with giants like Barrick Gold. He managed operations at major mines, led development on projects like Veladero, took it from exploration right into production.
Wow, building something like Villadero from the ground up, that's a serious undertaking.
It is, and he didn't stop there. After Barrick, he had senior roles elsewhere, led project development at Aurelian for Fruta del Norte, CEO at Andina Minerals.
So experience across continents with the big guys and successful juniors.
Right. That specific blend, knowing massive operations and how to bring new projects online, that seems particularly relevant for a company right at this pivot point.
Yeah, that definitely clicks with that Crux Investor emphasis on proven leadership.
Right.
What about Robert W. Schaefer? He's a director and technical advisor.
Schaefer brings over 35 years of international exploration experience. A professional geologist credited with involvement in several discoveries that became producing mines.
Okay, so deep exploration chops.
Yes, but what's maybe even more telling is his standing in the industry, his leadership history. He's held the top spots in multiple major industry societies: SME, PDAC, CIM, MMSA.
That's quite a list. What's the significance there?
Well, the sources note he's the first person ever to hold all those top roles in both the US and Canada. That kind of peer recognition, it speaks volumes about his technical expertise and influence. Plus, he's got executive experience with Kinross Gold, BHP Minerals.
So technical skill plus broad industry respect.
Got it. Seems like it.
Beyond those two, the sources mentioned a few other key people. What other expertise rounds out the team?
Well, the materials indicate they've really built a team with diverse complementary skills needed for this project development stage. Crucial areas like mining law and project finance, that's Johanna Fipke.
Okay.
Strong financial leadership from Michael Waldkirch, he's a CPA, former mining CFO. And then the essential technical roles.
Right. Who's handling the technical side on the ground?
Yeah. They've got John Schloter, lots of international exploration and geology experience, especially relevant for copper-gold systems like CK Gold. Then John Wells brings over 50 years in metallurgy.
50 years. Wow. Vital for figuring out how to process the ore efficiently.
Exactly. He's got experience from majors like Anglo-American, Barrick, and engineering firms. So geology and processing seem covered.
What else?
Plus, Yanni Rodaitis provides mine engineering and project management expertise, including significant work at Barrick. And Lucas Heckma, he specializes in that increasingly complex area of project permitting, environmental compliance, sustainability, experience from a major firm like Fluor.
It really sounds like they've deliberately put together a group with experience touching every single base needed, right? From finding it through design, permitting, construction, into operation.
That's certainly the picture the sources paint. A team built specifically for this challenge, aiming to, mitigate some of those typical risks juniors face when they try to become builders by having experienced people steering the ship.
All right, let's talk about the main event, the CK Gold project. This is the asset that's now fully permitted.
Correct. CK Gold, it's near Cheyenne, Wyoming, on state and private land. And the sources do mention the advantage of being in the U.S., stable jurisdiction. Crux Investor pointed that out as key.
And the big news, all permits are locked in as of late 2024 or early 2025. For someone listening who follows the industry but maybe isn't deep in the weeds on permitting, what does fully permitted actually mean here?
It means they've successfully jumped through all the regulatory hoops required for a mine. It involves huge amounts of environmental technical studies, basically proving to state agencies and checking with federal ones that they can build and operate responsibly.
So things like environmental protection, water use, reclamation plans.
Exactly. Community impact, all of that. The sources list the specific permits: mine operating permit, industrial siting permit, water discharge permit, reclamation bond acceptance, all secured.
And the air quality permit.
That was the final piece needed for the mine operating permit, according to an SEC filing. And they got that. Plus, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers confirmed back in April 24 that no federal permit was needed. That avoids another potential layer of complexity.
Okay, so passing that regulatory gauntlet, that's a huge de-risking event for the project itself.
Absolutely. It moves the project from, uncertain future because of regulatory hurdles to a state where it's clear they can build it, assuming they get the financing lined up.
Right. Permits secured. What's the practical timeline now? When might we actually see shovels in the ground?
Well, based on the forward-looking statements in the materials, the company is targeting the start of project development, basically. Breaking ground, starting construction sometime late 2025 or early 2026.
Okay, so still a little ways off, but there's a target.
Right. And they've already kicked off work on the final feasibility study. That started late May 2025, targeted for completion Q3 2025. That study really refines the economics and engineering plans, incorporating all the final permit conditions.
So the feasibility study is like the final blueprint, and then potentially construction starts not long after that. What about the project economics, according to the sources?
The pre-feasibility study, the PFS, from February 2025, indicated strong project economics. And that was using what seemed like relatively conservative metal prices at the time: $2,100 gold, $4.10 copper.
And it's highlighted as near-term production potential once built.
Yes. And another key point mentioned is the infrastructure advantage near Cheyenne.
Right, being close to a city.
Means much better access to labor, contractors, existing roads, rail. It significantly cuts down the need to build costly new infrastructure from scratch. That helps both the upfront capital cost and probably the ongoing operating expenses, too.
Yeah, that makes a big difference. Any other notable features about the project?
Yeah, there's an interesting detail about their sourcing strategy. To potentially reduce tariff exposure, they plan to prioritize American-sourced materials for things like mechanical equipment, steel, which is a decent chunk of the initial capital. And it also has potential to produce high-quality aggregate and rail ballast alongside the metals. Apparently, there's market demand for that stuff nearby.
Interesting. Diversifying revenue streams beyond just the gold, copper, silver.
Yeah.
Could be a nice little kicker. What about the size of the deposit itself? How much metal are we talking about?
According to the sources, CK Gold hosts 1.672 million gold-equivalent IUEQ mineral reserves.
Okay, I'm breaking that down.
That's just over 1 million ounces of gold, 1.022 million, 259.7 million pounds of copper, and about 3 million ounces of silver. The IUQ just combines the value based on those price assumptions they used.
And the geology.
It sits in a granodiorite shear zone, and there's some speculation in the sources, a postulate that it could be part of a larger porphyry system, which suggests, potential for other discoveries in the wider district down the road.
So a pretty significant reserve number for a junior. Is there potential to grow that resource?
The company does plan more reconnaissance work. The sources mention potential to expand resources at depth and also to the southeast, but deeper drilling below the planned pit, that's currently postponed. Strategic reasons, probably focusing resources on just getting this current plan built first.
Makes sense. Okay, so CK Gold, main event, fully permitted, de-risked on that front, clear path towards construction being laid out.
Yeah.
But they do have other projects too, right? Offering different kinds of potential upside.
Yes, exactly. The materials briefly mention other exploration assets. They represent future potential, but they're at much earlier stages, depend on different things happening.
Like the Keystone project in Nevada, I saw that mentioned.
Yeah, Keystone. Described as having potential for both near-surface oxide gold, sometimes lower cost to process, and deeper sulfide mineralization. The sources even highlight Keystone as potentially having the makings of a world-class Tier 1 discovery, maybe Carlin-type gold, which is, a big deal in Nevada.
That definitely sounds intriguing.
It is, but it's currently waiting for exploration capital. Or maybe a partnership to really get going. Same story, basically, for their Chalice Gold project in Idaho. It's an exploration play. Activities could start with a bond, but again, needs financing or a partner.
Then there was a mention of Maggie Creek, too.
Right, and are in agreement on the Maggie Creek project, also in Nevada.
Okay, so CK Gold is the near-term value driver, the one moving towards actually producing metal. These other projects offer longer-term exploration possibilities, but they're contingent on future funding or deals.
Precisely. They provide optionality, potential future news flow, future catalysts. But the immediate focus, the main value driver everyone's watching right now, seems to be getting CK Gold built.
Got it. Let's pivot then to the financials and where US Gold Corp stands in the market today. What do the numbers in your sources tell us?
Okay, looking at recent data from Simply Walsing and TipRanks, the company's market cap is currently floating around the $160–168 million range. Share price recently around $13.67. $13.67.
And what's notable is the comparison to a year ago, right?
Exactly. According to that April 2025 CEO letter, just a year prior, the market cap was way down at about $45 million. Share price was $4.18.
Wow. So that's nearly 200% increase in market cap, 150% jump in share price in just a year?
Yeah, roughly 193% on the market cap, 149% on the share price. It's a significant move.
What drove that huge jump?
Well, the CEO attributes it partly to rising gold and copper prices, sure, but primarily points to securing those full CK Gold permits and releasing the updated pre-feasibility study. Hitting those project milestones seems to have directly translated into increased market confidence and value.
Makes sense. How are they looking financially right now? Cash, debt?
The sources show recent cash around $9.14 million and very low total debt, about $49,000. The CEO update mentioned they raised $10.2 million back in November 2024 and also strengthened the Treasury through some warrant exercises.
Okay, low debt is good,
But yeah, the sources are also really clear about the significant capital still needed. Permits and studies are one thing. Building the actual mine costs serious money.
Right. So while they have some cash now, low debt, the next big financial hurdle is securing that major development financing.
Exactly. The forward-looking statements explicitly mention needing significant additional capital for CK Gold development, plus ongoing exploration. That's the crucial next financial step.
What about the share structure? Many shares out there.
TipRanks lists approximately 12.7 million shares outstanding. Relatively tight structure still.
And how are they viewed by the analysts who cover the stock?
Sources indicate a few analysts cover them. TipRanks shows a consensus rating of moderate buy. The average price target is around $15.50.
So analysts seem to see some potential upside from current levels based on their models.
Seems that way. But, it's still the junior mining space. Volatility is part of the game.
Right. Simply Walsay noted the share price has been volatile recently.
Yeah, over the past 3 months, higher weekly volatility than most U.S. stocks, apparently. And Crux Investor broadly highlights the sector's inherent high-risk nature anyway.
Any other recent news impacting their market position?
Yes, actually. A pretty significant piece of news from early June 2025. US Gold Corp is set to be included in the Russell 3000 and Russell 2000 indexes.
Ah, index inclusion.
Yeah.
What does that typically mean for a company like this?
Well, joining indexes like the Russell 2000, which is widely followed by funds focusing on small-cap stocks, it boosts visibility, especially to institutional investors. It can often lead to increased trading volume as those index tracking funds have to buy the shares.
And the source mentioned that news gave the stock a bump.
Yeah, Benzinga reported a stock surge on that news, so positive market recognition there.
Okay, that gives us a good snapshot. Let's quickly recap the main catalysts and the key risks that stand out from the sources.
Sure. On the plus side, the huge catalyst recently was getting those full permits for CK Gold. That's a major milestone. Done. Looking ahead, the key things to watch are completion of that final feasibility study targeted for Q3 2025. Then the targeted construction start, late 25 or early 26. And critically, securing the financing for the project.
And the Russell inclusion is happening. Plus, maybe exploration news down the line.
Right. Index inclusion is a near-term positive for market awareness. And yeah, potential exploration success at Keystone or Chalice offers longer-term upside, but that's more speculative for now. Metal prices, of course, always a factor.
So the path to potentially building the mine is coming into clearer focus. What about the risks still looming?
The sources are very clear. Significant risks remain, like with any junior miner. The absolute number one risk highlighted is the need for substantial additional capital. Funding the development and construction of CK Gold, that's the biggest hurdle after permitting.
Capital is king when you're trying to build something this big.
Absolutely. Other risks mentioned. Changes in metal prices, those directly hit the project economics. Environmental or regulatory challenges can still pop up even post-permitting. Potential cost overruns in construction or operations, market volatility, which we noted they have, and dependency on key people.
And Crux Investor had that general warning about pre-revenue companies needing cash.
Yeah, they flag pre-revenue companies, especially those needing significant future funding, as carrying higher risk. US Gold Corp fits that bill pre-revenue, needing that major capital injection, even though their current debt is low.
Okay, that really gives us a comprehensive picture, drawing on all those materials you provided. We've got the experienced team, seemingly assembled for this exact moment, the fully permitted CK Gold project nearing its construction phase, other assets offering exploration potential, and this financial picture of recent momentum, market recognition, but also that significant need for future capital.
It really does highlight that crucial transition point, doesn't it? Moving from being primarily an explorer, maybe a successful one, to potentially becoming a producer. It fundamentally changes the company's entire profile, the risks, the potential rewards.
So for you listening, what does this all mean? Here's something to maybe chew on.
Think about that specific shift. What does it truly mean for a junior mining company to go from having studies, permits, plans on paper to actually financing and building a mine? How does that transformation alter the company's risk profile? You're swapping exploration risk for construction risk, execution risk.
And how does having multiple projects at different stages, one permitted like CK Gold, others needing exploration funds, factor into that whole equation of risk versus potential reward?
Yeah, a lot to consider as they navigate these next very critical steps.
Indeed. And just to be crystal clear, this deep dive is strictly for informational purposes. It's based only on the sources we reviewed. It is absolutely not financial advice.
Investing in resource companies, particularly junior ones like this, involves significant risk. You could lose your entire investment. Always, always do your own thorough due diligence.
And consult with a qualified independent financial advisor before making any investment decisions. Remember, past performance is never indicative of future results.
Thanks for joining us for the deep dive.